Hey, hey, hey. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media Channel. I am your host, Brian, and a lot of people call me LTL. Some people call me BLT, and then some other people have some nasty names for me, but you can call me whatever you want. And I want to welcome everybody in. I see some jerks raiding in over from Mike's show. I was watching Ian Runkle over there, an attorney from Canada. It was a fantastic show, and I want to thank Mike for redirecting some of the folks over here and hanging out with me tonight. The chemistry lately and the shows that we've all been doing, Mike, Mark Mazza Media, and myself, we just really great shows and great content, and just really nice that I've kind of clicked up with those guys. I've been very thankful for it. And they've definitely helped out my panels, and I hope that I'm helping out their shows as well too. So nice to see everybody in here. We have a lot to go through. I'm going to tell you right now, not going to read through any of the motions. I'm sure you've all heard it, but I will get kind of a Cliff Notes version of it today before we get into Brian Higgins. We have a long way to go in the show. I kind of was feeling it today and then not feeling it. Today for me was kind of like a rough day, and kept moving the show time around. Didn't know if I was going to do a show, but I was like, we'll do something here late at night. So we'll see what we can get through here, and get through the material that I have planned today. And we also had a new Microdots video drop today. We're going to play that here this evening. So I'm super excited about that. So we heard some things about Trooper Paul. We heard about the Proctor and Lally text that just recently came out. Hank Brennan filed a motion, I believe, yesterday to block ARCA. And interesting, we're starting to hear Sandra Birchmore's name come up in the Karen Reed case. And they want discovery and they want files from the Sandra Birchmore case. So we'll get into a lot of this. I am trying to get better. But thank you all from Young Jerks coming over. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do click that subscribe button. And I want to welcome, we've had a lot of new subscribers over the last couple of weeks. And I just want to welcome in all those subscribers. Hopefully they're catching the live shows, and we will move on. I'm getting there. I'm not completely healthy yet, but I am getting there. All right, so let's get into some of the activity that happened today, and we'll go kind of through a Cliff Notes version of this. But I want to just start out with Ted Daniel. Ted Daniel, I believe it was posted yesterday, said Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan's motion to block ARCA witnesses from Karen Reed's retrial. And he posted those motions below. I'm not going to read through them. We'll just read through the Cliff Notes here. Brennan has exchanged letters with the feds about ARCA, and that's what has been impounded. In this request to impound the letters, Brennan writes, quote, "These letters contain the Commonwealth's written request for discoverable materials of the U.S. Attorney's Office and the U.S. Attorney's response pursuant to," and there is the law, "the TUI request, in consideration for the protective endorsed by the Honorable Denise Casper of the United States District Court of Massachusetts. These letters could be considered confidential. It should not be public to disclosure." Well, essentially, what the Commonwealth is trying to do there is make sure that all of their motions that go forward are sealed, so the public cannot look at this. And we saw a perfect example of this in the Brian Koberger case. There is a ton of motions in discovery in that case that are still under seal. And that's essentially what they're trying to do here. I don't think they want the public discourse in all of this, but there's ways to get documents. There's ways to find things out. And why would we want to dismiss ARCA? Because ARCA is physics. ARCA did the essentially set up the experimentation to figure out if this was possible. that did Karen Reed's vehicle hit John O'Keefe, and did John O'Keefe come in contact with Karen Reed's vehicle? And their expert opinion and end result was no. Much well qualified individuals to make these experiments and come to these determination and pretty much the end game in all of this. So yeah, and if you've noticed, Hank Brennan has just attacked all of the defense witnesses in here, tried to discredit them, tried to not allow them to testify, and it's kind of like, here we go again. That's right. ARCA brings actual science, and they do. And that's right, Mark. ARCA is the slam dunk right away, all the way. And I'm sure they're going to be very much more prepared this time they come around. Julia says ARCA is completely independent scientific analysis. Absolutely. And that's what I come back with. All the trolls all the time that say Karen is a murderer and Karen did this and you don't know what you're talking about. And I just write in the response and the reply, ARCA. And that's it. Period. And that's it. ARCA, period. All right. Let's look at a little bit more here. I found this interesting. Aiden Carney, one turtle boy, says, talking about Trooper Paul. Trooper Paul conducted a test in July 24, 2024, in which he backed Karen Reed's Lexus into John O'Keefe's Chevy Traverse in the attempt to show that it wouldn't break the taillight. He did this in the presence of Paul O'Keefe. And that leprechaun, they bring with them to trial Brendan Kane. As a result, Karen Reed must now pay for another expert to prove what we saw on tape. She hit the Traverse and her taillight cracked. But first, they have to file a motion to allow their expert to look at the cars and measures the driveway. This is why we donate. Everything is a battle with these criminals. And you can see this here in the motion. It's a clip from the motion. And Aiden posts this actually this afternoon. And it says, on February 3rd, 2022, the Mass State Police were given access to the driveway at Meadows Ave in order to complete forensic science tests and photograph the scene. After the Commonwealth took possession of the vehicles, they conducted multiple further accident reconstruction analysis, including a recently as July 24th, 2024, impeccably. So that's right after the trial. The Mass State Police conducted some of these tests in the presence of the decedent's brother, Paul O'Keefe, and his friend, Brendan Kane, who both are civilians. These tests were completed without alerting the defense and solely according to the Commonwealth and the state police timelines. I'm sorry. So we go out, we conduct experiments, we don't tell the defense, we do things on our own, we hide discovery, we have to produce videos that are on someone's iCloud account. I mean, this has multiple Brady violations all over it. This case should be dismissed right now. It is a joke. It is a farce. The Commonwealth is losing every single day in this battle to keep Karen Reed in this trial and trying to convict her and put her behind bars. I think just in the end of the day, it's not going to happen. It will not happen. Science will prove this. Evidence will prove this. And, we saw it all unfold in trial 1. And we're getting ready for Karen Reed 2.0. All right, let's do another little cliff notey here. Let's talk about the Lally Trooper Proctor text in one of the recent documents that just came out. And, I asked the question on Twitter, what might cause Proctor to feel anxious while waiting for the verdict? Why would everyone have to be on edge? And we can see here on July 1st, 2024, at 5:48 p.m., the prosecution's witness Trooper Michael Proctor sent a text message to the assistant district attorney, Adam Lally, that stated, quote, "Yeah, we didn't watch Asshole Jackson closing for a good reason. Like all of us, the anticipation and anxiety of the verdict has us all on edge." Huh. I wonder why that would be. Is that because if Karen Reed is found not guilty, that someone might be knocking at your door? Maybe the feds? Maybe other entities to investigate you and ask you some questions? Trooper Michael Proctor? Oh, wait, you're in a said disciplinary hearing right now. And we're going to go on hearing 3 on March 13th. Do you catch my drift, my vibe here? What I've been telling you all along. This whole farce of this hearing, you know, I think everybody thought that Proctor was going to come out of this hearing and he would be fired immediately. They're going to drag this out, everybody. And then they will bury it. And they will bury him somewhere, probably in Alaska, at a desk job, or just make him go away. But they're not going to fire him before Karen Reed 2.0. I can guarantee you that. And they misspelled, he misspelled Axon Jackson. So why would you, and there's a screenshot of it. So how about this? Why not the Reed defense team ask for Lally's phone? Let's see what all those communications were at all these fucking witnesses during Karen Reed 1.0. You could see that happen. We might see a motion for that. And we get to look at Lally's phone, see what's going on in there. What were they talking about? What were they saying? I mean, this here kind of opens up the doorway, don't you think, people? So, yeah, let's check his phone out. All right, moving along. And I love this. Sandra Birchmore, in the most recent motion, defendant Karen Reed's motion to compel discovery. And I'm just going to page down here because we're not going to read through it, but I'm going to read one section of this. Aha! Love this. Let me just bring this up a little bit here, right here. Defense request number 2. An unredacted copy of Mass State Police Report number 26. Defense counsel, as requested via its November 8th, 2024 email to Attorney Brennan, unredacted copy of the Mass State Police Report number 26 associated with the investigation into the death of Sandra Birchmore, produced in NOD number 47, Mass State Police Report 26, is relevant and must be provided in accordance to Mrs. Reed's constitutional and statutory rights. The investigation into the death of Sandra Birchmore has involved many of the material witnesses in Miss Reed's case. Oh, well, let's hear the names, including, but not limited to, Sergeant Michael Lank, Daniel Whitney, Trooper Michael Dunn, Trooper Zach Clark, Colleen Crawford, Detective Kevin Albert, Lieutenant John Fanning, Trooper Garano, Lieutenant Brian Telly, District Attorney Lynn Bedlin, and District Attorney Michael Morsi. Given the similar allegations of misconduct in the state's actors in the Birchmore and Reed cases, the statement that material witnesses in Miss Reed has made in relation to the Birchmore investigation are relevant for impeachment and bear on the credibility of those witnesses in the instant matter. Despite defense counsel's request, the Commonwealth has not yet provided the defense with Mass State Police Report number 26. In fact, Attorney Brennan replied on November 25th, 2024, that because Sandra Birchmore case now involves a federal investigation, defense counsel should seek redacted information from the U.S. Attorney's Office. That's just a lazy way of trying to pass it off. They have it. The Commonwealth has possession, custody, and control of the relevant reports from the Birchmore investigation that include statements by material witness in the Karen Read matter. Many of those statements have since been undetermined and discredited, and constantly they bear the credibility of those material witnesses and are directly relevant to Ms. Read's case. In fact, the U.S. Attorney's Office may redact information does not absolve the Commonwealth of their obligation to provide mandatory discovery under Rule 14. Accordingly, so the request remains outstanding. Phenomenal. I love the fact that is up and it's on the record and it's all there, because all of these people are major players in all of this. And, we've heard that a lot on these channels. I think the Sandra Birchmore case has a lot to do with the Read case because of X. All those litigating factors of all these Canton police officers, Mass State Police troopers, the DA's office, they're all combined. They're all in it together. It's crazy. Yeah. Glamis says the records are all in the same office. Get your ass down the hall and get it. Yeah, it's just a lazy, nah. Go fight the feds on it. It's there. It's there. Yeah, isn't it funny that now Brennan's using the feds as a sword and shield? Funny. We know there's a federal investigation into Karen Read's case. Can't allow that information to come in. We're going to block all those experts out, but I'm going to hide behind the feds and I'm going to use them. Yeah, 30,000 missing text messages. Absolutely. All right, let's move on here. And like I said, we have a new Microdots video if you haven't watched it, and it's Jen McCabe's secret meeting at Lank's house. And then we'll get into Brian Higgins this evening. Here we go. If you can, if you haven't, please smash the like button. It really would help out. I'm just going to turn the...
I didn't need time to make up a story because I have the truth of why we went.
And the truth, according to you, is you pulled up at Michael Lang's house. The first responding officer and friends of the Albans had a meeting with him the next day that was never reported to anybody for any purpose.
I
just met with his wife out in the car while the car was running for 45 minutes to an hour. That's your story.
It's not a story. It's the truth. Carrie dropped her daughter off.
Oh, you're
the wife
welcome.
Came out. Carrie is a talker.
Yes.
They started talking. A tragedy had happened the day before.
It is interesting, would you not agree, that the day before you had this off-the-books meeting at Michael Lang's house, Nicole Albert says, we'll get more info tomorrow, meaning the very day you show up at Lang's house.
Again, I never spoke with Mike Lang at his house. It was not an off-the-books meeting. It was Carrie dropping her daughter at one of her good friends' house, whose husband happens to be a Canton cop.
Jen is confronted with phone location data that places her at Officer Lank's home for approximately 1 hour, the day after John was killed. It also indicates that she stopped at 34 Fairview just minutes before, presumably to pick up Nicole.
We didn't stop by. Maybe Carrie slowed down, but we did not stop by 34.
The information the sisters were after was so sensitive that they refused to risk discussing it over text and insisted on meeting with Michael Lang in person. For the third-party suspects and Norfolk officials, communication would prove to be an ongoing challenge, especially once they became aware of the federal investigation about 1 year later. Inevitably, every criminal organization must grapple with this and know the safest way to communicate is face-to-face. However, it becomes a serious issue when you're caught meeting with individuals you have no legitimate reason to be associated with, like a witness visiting the home of an investigator.
Did you have any conversation before your testimony today with anybody about you going to Michael Lang's house on January 30th? Anybody?
Alan Jackson already knows. The answer is
Yes.
Tell me about that. Who was it and when?
and that's because the secret meeting between Jen McCabe, Nicole Albert, and Michael Lang was never known until a report was produced for the first trial. Jen will describe the circumstances in which she recently became aware.
It was a couple of weeks ago at the DA's office.
At this early stage, they were already acting as seasoned conspirators. To fully grasp this, you must first understand exactly how tense things were for the first 5 days, until Karen was arraigned on February 2nd. They were trapped in an agonizing limbo, unsure if their involvement would be exposed. At any moment, the situation could unravel disastrously. Information was scarce, yet critically valuable. This is why it was crucial for Jen, husband Matt, Brian, and Nicole Albert to stay coordinated through their group chat, and why Matt McCabe acted as a lookout, texting them a message that read, "Troopers back out front, but in front of Asian house," and trying to get a picture for Brian. It also explains why Jen gleefully reported back to them that Kerry was sticking to the script during her police interview, telling them,
This is so fucking sketchy, bro. And now, like, we've had over a year to digest all. I mean, while we've been around for well over a year, but seeing this all come out in trial and be able to go over these testimonies, and we're gonna see it tonight in Brian Higgins, which to me, Brian Higgins got a lot of explaining to do, and just his body language up on that stand is very sus to me. He knows a lot more than what he's saying, and he's hiding a lot. And I always thought, and this is my opinion, he's the guy. He's the guy in all of this. He's the guy in all of this. But this is so fucking sketchy. Super sketchy. And the thing is, the defense is going to find out a lot more things here for Karen Read 2.0. I think their whole presentation is going to be completely different this time around. Completely different. I think they're going to focus on so many other things that we haven't seen before and put a lot of effort into that. All right, let's keep going here.
Everything. And Proctor is already sending his friends hate-filled text messages targeting Karen and boasting about the untouchable status of Boston cops. Julie Albert was so relieved at Karen's arrest that she vocalized her desire to reward Michael Proctor with a gift, while Chris Albert was being instructed to tell the media that the guy never came into the house and to ask questions. They each had their role, and until Karen was placed in handcuffs, they were teetering on the knife's edge. Every move carried the weight of potential disaster, where even the smallest misstep could trigger catastrophic consequences. Jen goes on to describe her meeting at the DA's office, where she found out she's been caught at Lang's home.
Mr. Lally, Miss McLaughlin, Steve Nelson, Trooper Brian Tully, I believe, and another woman, I can't remember her name, unfortunately. My daughter Allie came with me also. It was a casual meeting to explain this process.
What did Mr. Lally show you?
He showed me nothing. Mr. Lally was not there when this
Good
conversation
fucking
happened.
meetings.
Brian Tully told me.
What exactly did he tell you?
The reason
Unreal.
you went to Lang's. Figure it out.
Oh, it's so good.
He said, "Did you go to Michael Lang's on January 30th? And at first I said, no, I've never been to his house. And then I thought about it and I said, oh my gosh, yes, I did go there. And that was the extent of the conversation.
Trooper Tully had you come down for an interview. He confronted you with a fact that had never been disclosed before, to wit, you showed up at Michael Lang's house And when you said, yeah, oh yeah, hang on, I think your words were, oh my gosh, yeah, I think I did go there. And he didn't ask a follow-up question.
What does Jen do when she's cornered, being asked unexpected questions she never prepared answers for? She knows her story makes no sense. Inside the conference room, the DA's attorneys pretend everything's above board and legitimate, but they're keeping a second set of books, to be discussed with only certain individuals, more discreetly. Even a master manipulator like Jen can't fabricate an entire honest conversation about the report off the top of her head, and she certainly can't reveal what Tully really said to her. So she reverses it and blames Jackson.
He was there. You're
Your turn.
You're- You're spinning all of this.
I love this line right here. I'm not spinning anything. He goes, I'm not spinning anything. That's why we have a judge here. I love that line from Jackson. And we're going to hear it here. I know I kind of jumped ahead of it, but I love this. Let's hear Jackson. We'll back up a little bit more.
At the report off the top of
I
her
love
head.
this.
And she certainly can't reveal what Tully really said to her. So she reverses it and blames Jackson.
Here we go.
He was there. You're spinning all of this.
Ma'am, I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't spin. There's a judge here to make sure that I don't spin. I'm asking you a question. It's very direct.
I do not believe he asked me a follow-up question.
So that was the end of that conversation about Michael Lang, correct?
Correct.
It's crazy. If anybody wants to see this without my commentary and wants to just play through it, you can hear. I love that. That's why we have a judge here. I don't spin. I do a lot of things, but I don't spin things. It's why we have a judge here. All right, let's move on to Brian Higgins. And I want to play something that I played on the show probably a little while ago, but I'm going to play it again because not many people know about this. And what we have here is Toby Leary, who is the owner of Cape Cod or Cape Gun Works down in Cape Cod. And he's got a little story to tell you about Brian Higgins. And this is from the Sons of Liberty podcast. I've talked to Sam and Hunter before. They're really nice guys. They've given me permission to play this. And I'm gonna play this again because a lot of people don't know about this and they haven't heard this. But I'm gonna let Toby Leary take this away. We're gonna hear a little bit of story about Brian Higgins.
Isn't there like this thing called the Fourth Amendment or something, where it's like no illegal search and seizures?
Yeah.
Is that a thing anymore?
Not when you're a gun dealer, apparently. And it's funny because, oh man, we could go down a rabbit hole about
Let's
this.
do it. I don't even care.
All right. So
this is worth it. This is crazy.
I had an ATF agent and so the guys who do those inspections they're called IOIs. They're investigative officers and inspectors, right?
Well, I'm just curious. Do they feel bad? Like, are they ever like just
Imagine being
like
that
sorry
guy.
about
Yeah.
this? But we have
Kinda,
to?
yeah, they actually are.
Okay.
Those ATF agents are like, we're just doing our job. We've got to make sure this gun lines up with this serial number in this book and this 4473 to this guy, and his license is correct and his address was right and his signature's on the page and you have your, employee signature too and all that, right? And again, they can't even keep to the standard themselves, but they require us to.
So this is Toby Leary. He's the owner of Cape Gun Works down in Cape Cod. It's a gun shop. And we're going to hear his story about Brian Higgins when Brian Higgins came to his store. Here we go.
And we do. And so they do the inspections. Then they write up a list of violations and then they send that to their director. And then the director determines what action will be taken. A letter, a warning conference, or a revocation hearing. And so that happens once a year-ish. And then the other side of it is enforcement. So there's the ATF enforcement side, which are actively doing investigations into the biker gang or the Crips and the Bloods with guns, or the nefarious people out there that legitimately do evil with guns. But, they also wear a big badge. And so, funny story is we had an investigation going on a few years ago. It was actually a pretty well-known investigation. It was in the newspapers of a guy who was in the police academy to become a cop, who purchased a Glock pistol from our store and from another store by showing a police ID and signing our law enforcement affidavit that he had powers of arrest. And turns out he was just a dispatcher. And so we can't sell Glock pistols, the number one selling handgun in America, to regular citizens because the Attorney General deemed them too dangerous. So that whole list of guns I told you about, the Attorney General's regulations, they determined that Glock pistols do not meet the Attorney General's regulations. But then they exempted police departments and police from the Attorney General's regulations. So if that doesn't stink of hypocrisy, I don't know what does, because they're saying it's too unsafe for you to own, but yet we're going to give them to cops in their official duties, and also they can own them personally. But if they're that unsafe, why do we want to give them to cops? Well, because they're really not unsafe. We just don't trust you with the most popular handgun in America, and this is our way of doing a backdoor gun ban. So you can't buy Glocks, but you can as a cop. So this guy who's going through the police academy flashed his thing, and when he's in the police academy, the police chief looks at him and says, "Hey, that looks like a new Glock. Where'd you get that?" "Oh, I got it at Cape Gunworks." "What? You can't do that. You can't buy that. You're not a sworn officer yet." So this police chief launches an investigation and charges the kid with, unlawful possession of a firearm for straw purchase stuff, and gets the ATF involved.
Wow.
So the ATF comes down to us to get the form, the 4473, shows us his credentials. And some of you might know who this ATF agent is if you watched a very high profile trial that just took place in Massachusetts. So the agent's name was Brian Higgins. And so he's in our shop to get this form, and he's watching us conduct business. And he sees a girl at the counter buying a gun. She's doing her paperwork, doing all that. And her boyfriend walks in and, whispers in her ear, and she points over there, and then he walks away. And this guy's observing this whole thing. And then she finally gets her gun and she leaves. And he says,
Meaning Higgins is observing the transactions. That's what he's talking about. It said the guy's observing things, meaning Brian Higgins.
And, whispers in her ear, and she points over there, and then he walks away. And this guy's observing this whole thing. And then she finally gets her gun and she leaves. And he says, "I need to see that 4473. And
it's a form you fill out.
I've never been in this position before. I don't just feel comfortable turning over my customers' information to law enforcement agencies.
Good for you.
Just because they ask for it.
Good for you.
You need a warrant.
So I'm like, yeah, I think there's a warrant and a subpoena at the very least that there's
that is a smart business guy. Screw you. You don't have a warrant to take my customers' information. I don't care if it's a fucking dry cleaning service. You know what I mean? You're going to come in here and just say, "I need to see that receipt or that form." Fuck you. Get a warrant. Get a warrant. KPT, thanks for becoming a new member. It helps keep the lights on here in the studio. Yeah, you wrong. You wrong. Yeah, fuck you. I'd be like, you're not getting access to my customers' information. All right, let's back up a little bit and we'll play through this.
Just because they ask for it.
Yeah, you need a warrant.
So I'm like, yeah, I think there's a warrant and a subpoena at the very least that there's some ongoing investigation. So I bring the form into my general manager, and I go in the other room and I ask Brendan, my business partner, I said, "Do we have to give federal forms to the ATF upon demand?" And he goes, "I don't think so, but let me call our lawyer." We have a lawyer that is on call about this type of stuff, especially interactions with the ATF. So he calls him, and this guy used to be one of the directors of the Boston field office of the ATF. So he knows his stuff,
Yeah.
right? So he calls him, and meanwhile, while we're off to the side talking, this ATF agent goes into my manager's office and says, I need to see that form. So my manager doesn't know any better, and he hands it over, and he's taking pictures of it and, writing down information off this form. And then he walks back out. I come out, and Brendan is on the phone with the lawyer, and the lawyer says, and I'll keep it a G rating here, but he says, tell him to go bleep himself. And so Brendan comes out and says, yeah, we're not going to give you that information. I'm sorry. Come back with a warrant or a subpoena or something like that, and we'll be glad to oblige. But, we don't feel comfortable giving out confidential information just on a fishing expedition by you. And he goes, what? He hits the moon. No one has ever denied me that form. And
hairpin trigger attitude. Interesting. And I've heard this a lot about Brian Higgins. People that I've come in contact with that may know him or have known of him, have been around him. This is usually the common trait of Brian Higgins.
Had to oblige, but we don't feel comfortable giving out confidential information just on a fishing expedition by you. And he goes, what? He hits the moon. No one has ever denied me that form. And that's ATF property. Those forms are ATF property. And we're like, no, they're actually not. We have to retain them as records for 20 years, forever. And he's like, nope, that's my property. I can inspect them whenever I want. I want to see that now. And by the way, I already looked at it in your manager's office, so I already got what I need, but you don't tell me no. He was really upset.
So he told you that he already got it?
Yeah, he told us that he already got it. I'm like, well, I didn't give you permission or authorize you to do that. And, frankly, I think you're overstepping your bounds here. And we're very pro-police. We'll help any investigation, but I believe you're on a fishing expedition.
That's awesome.
And you just don't like the color of the skin or what that person looked like who's at the counter buying a gun. Frankly, that's what I think happened here. And he goes, you don't know why I'm asking for it. And I said, well, I'm just calling it like I see it. And we internally knew this wasn't a straw purchase. If he was making the argument that she was buying the gun for the boyfriend or something like that, that's what he was implying. And I said, nope, that's not the situation. This girl has been in multiple times, has gone out on the range with an instructor to select a handgun that fits her hand, that one she likes, that, meets the requirements that she has. She's, test fired it. She's narrowed it down and then ultimately made a selection. And today is the day she's picking it up. This is not a straw purchase. And, so he's like, well, I'm not going to talk to you about what an ongoing investigation. So he gets back to his office, and his director just got reamed out by my lawyer who used to work for that office. And he basically tells him, you got to make this right. You got to cover your butt because you're exposed now. You're out there in the wind without any legal protection because you're, demanding
wild.
This. And so he goes and assembles a grand jury to investigate this girl for a straw purchase.
Unbelievable.
And comes back to us with a subpoena on a Saturday or Sunday morning. I can't remember what day it was, when we have a instructor here from New York to teach a class to like 14 people. People have driven from like Connecticut, Rhode Island, and all over Massachusetts to be in this class. And he shows up with like 8 police cars, and he walks in and he disarms everyone in the store. Like, you can't be in the store with me with a gun. I want your gun. And like, so my employees are kind of like, what do I do? And so he's like, you got to, unload your gun and I'll hold on to it while you're in the store. And by the way, I want everyone out anyway. You can't be in the building with me at the same time while I'm conducting my investigation. And he has a subpoena for the hard drive of our video camera surveillance system. So he can sit there and watch the world go by in 30-second clips, around that day. But he doesn't just ask for the clips for that day. He takes the whole server out of the building. And
Higgins likes to take servers out of the building. DVR servers. It's a little interesting. I mean, he did have access to the Canton Police Department. He had an office there. Sure, he knew where all those DVR systems were. Oh, interesting. All right, let's play on, players.
This could have been done
Fuck
by just
yeah.
him walking in that one
I agree.
closet, which is like a 4x6 closet, but he shut down the entire operation of the building, you know, and with like 8 cruisers parked out front. So it looks like we're, you know,
Getting
selling
raided,
machine
yeah.
guns
Oh,
to
God.
kids out the back door. And
We're good.
and so
That's great.
all that to really just throw his weight around and peacock out and say, I'm the guy, you don't ever tell me no,
Fuck
don't you
him.
ever forget it. And so he did that to cover his butt because, you know, and then once they found out, oh yeah, it wasn't a straw purchase, they just closed the investigation and
Unbelievable.
went on.
Unbelievable, and just went on their way. If you're interested in that and you want to watch the video or share that clip, I'll drop the link here. I'm going to sneeze here in a second. And you can give, hang on. I got another one coming too. Nope, maybe. Do I? No, I do. Oh man, I held that one in. If you want to, if you like gun talk, you like stuff like that, you can sub to Sam and Hunter, and if you want to share that, you can share that video. Thank you so much. Thank you. I held that second one in. I held the second one in. Thank you. Oh man. Woo. Yeah, so I mean, just a clear example. Brian Higgins throwing his weight around. I like that. And just going through a bunch of bullshit to put this guy through the ringer because he didn't want to hand over a piece of paperwork, which basically he didn't have any title to. So fuck you. You don't have no warrant. You don't have a subpoena. So go fuck yourself. So Higgins goes out of his way, wastes taxpayers' dollars, goes to a judge, brings in like 8 cruisers to shut down this whole place, and come to find out it was just over a big nothing burger. So fuck him. Fuck him. All right. What I want to do is start this with the motion hearing, Karen Reed motion hearing back on February 6th. And I want to go to the part when we hear Alan Jackson talking about Brian Higgins talking on the phone at 1:30 in the morning at the Canton PD. And then we're going to go to Brian. We're going to watch a little bit of Brian Higgins direct about that situation. And then we're going to watch Alan Jackson crush him about that situation. All right, let me bring this up. So I thought this would be fun to do it this way and just see how the twists and turns of Higgy's testimony. And I always thought, and this is just me, I think this is your guy. I have a feeling this is the guy. And I want to look at our poll right now. And I put the top 3 people that I think have a lot of questions to answer. But you all think that Jennifer McCabe, 67%, whose testimony was the most sketchiest during the first trial, 67% Jennifer McCabe, 27% Brian Higgins, and Brian Albert at 5%. All right, let's play Jackson talking about the new video that they have got about Brian Higgins talking at 1:30 in the morning at the Canton PD.
Come out there. Just don't have anybody download it in advance. Let's do it all together when
Let's
we're
boost
all in the
this.
same place. That's what I said, and he accommodated that. He said, sure, we'll agree to that. So based on this history of getting these small clips from January 29th, we knew there had to be more footage. Intimating that it's my fault that we didn't know
What
was
happened
on the
here?
DVR. That's absurd also.
We jumped a little bit. All right, let's go. Ah, shit. We'll start here.
Otherwise, it's just patently absurd. So Mr. Brennan also wrote in his opposition that Mr. Jackson said, don't touch the DVR, don't mess with it. So I informed Chief Rafferty, tell your staff, don't touch it, don't mess with it, almost intimating that it's my fault that we didn't know what was on the DVR. That's absurd also. How am I supposed to know what is or isn't on the Commonwealth's DVR? What I actually said, that was a sort of a liberal interpretation of the facts. What I actually said was, Mr. Brennan, do me a favor, if we're going to come out there, just don't have anybody download it in advance. Let's do it all together when we're all in the same place. That's what I said, and he accommodated that. He said, sure, we'll agree to that. So based on this history of getting these small clips from January 29th, we knew there had to be more footage. So when Mr. Brennan came on board, we made the request to him as well as the requests that we had made to his predecessors. We want all the footage for that 24-hour period. And lo and behold, we started getting more clips, more snippets, more piecemeal bits and bytes from that DVR. And one of them was
Thank
a
you,
clip
Mama.
of Brian Higgins standing out in front of Canton Police Department in the parking lot in the freezing cold at 1:35 in the morning on January 29th.
Well, how about that? And we're going to hear he was talking on his phone. And who could he have been calling? Someone at 34 Fairview? Maybe making a little phone call over there. This is what's going on. What's going on over there? How about that? How about that? Let's go back a little bit here.
29th. We knew there had to be more footage. So when Mr. Brennan came on board, we made the request to him as well as the requests that we had made to his predecessors. We want all the footage for that 24-hour period. And lo and behold, we started getting more clips, more snippets, more piecemeal bits and bytes from that DVR. And one of them was a clip of Brian Higgins standing out in front of Canton Police Department in the parking lot in the freezing cold at 1:35 in the morning on January 29th on his cell phone. To punctuate the importance of that video footage, recall that this issue was raised at trial. We talked extensively. When I say we, both the Commonwealth and the defense, me in particular, spoke with Mr. Higgins about this issue. It was raised at trial, and Brian Higgins never once, not once, on direct examination or on cross-examination, admitted to having made a phone call in the middle of the night on January 29th. And yet now, after the trial,
They find
we get a
out.
video of him doing exactly that.
Okay. So I'm going to stop that there. I want to go to Brian Higgins on direct at that very moment. And let's see if we find out any of this information from Adam Lally asking Brian Higgins. We'll play a little bit of this. Here we go.
Now, as far as when you get out to your vehicle and you're driving away, were there any other?
Ooh.
And as you're pulling away from the house, where is your attention drawn, or what, if anything, did you see as far as when you're pulling away from the house?
Wasn't drawn to anything. I just drove away.
And when you drove away, again, during that process, did you see anything outside of the house that drew concern or your attention or anything like that?
Okay. So here's the thing about the courtroom volume. I have it turned up all the way. I actually use a booster. So y'all need to turn your volumes up. So turn your volume up on your TV or your headphones or whatever you're listening through, because I use a booster for the sound and I have it at 50% boosted right now. So it should be loud enough. And that's the best that I can do. So I would say turn your ears up or speaker up, whatever you need to do.
No.
Now, as far as when you get out to your vehicle and you're driving away, were there any other vehicles on the street that you saw in the area of the residence at 34 Fairview?
I didn't see any.
And do you recall
And
whether or not there were
Putting my
any
speaker, that's how
tire
I
tracks in the snow or anything that you saw when you came out to the vehicle, if you recall?
I do not recall.
Now, you leave the residence at 34 Fairview, and where did you go from there?
I went back to the Canton Police.
And why was it that you went back to the Canton Police Station?
Well, we had traveled down for the services for those police officers, and we anticipated staying the following day. I think I had said that we left a day earlier. So I had left a key to the surveillance vehicle on top of my desk so that somebody could move the vehicle, because some of the.
So here's the thing. He's trying to spin a story now. And when people can't answer with a simple yes or no, and they drag on about a long, extended answer, and you hear him trip up here, and I'm going to rewind it and we'll play that again, he starts tripping up because he's trying to make all this shit up in his head. And you'll hear him. He's gonna spin a little bit here. Let's go back a little bit.
So the operator controls it. The mechanism to control it, again, is called a fish stick. It's on a cord, and it plugs in under the dashboard. I reached down to find out, I don't know if it was on the floor or between the seats, but it's not like a joystick that's attached actually to the dashboard.
So some sort of hydraulic system, is that correct?
Yes, it's a hydraulic based.
Over-explaining,
In
right?
addition to moving it sort of up and down, is there any other way that you can manipulate the blade as far as that switch?
I went a little too far back. Hang on.
Okay. Again, during that process, did you see anything outside of the house that
Let's go a little bit further.
is at 34 Fair?
I didn't see any.
All right, here we go.
Do you recall whether or not there were any tire tracks in the snow or anything that you saw when you came out to the vehicle, if you recall?
I do not recall.
Now, you leave the residence
All right,
of
here we go.
34 Fairview, and where did you
Listen,
go?
he's gonna trip
I
up.
went back to the Canton Police.
And why was it that you went back to the Canton Police Station?
Well, we had traveled down for the services for those police officers, and we anticipated staying the following day. I think I had said that we left a day earlier. So I had left a key to the surveillance vehicle on top of my desk so that somebody could move the vehicle, because a lot of times Chief Berkowitz would get after me. As a courtesy, I was parking vehicles there, sometimes my personal, but primarily my work vehicles. And one thing he asked me, just leave the vehicles in the middle of the parking lot so that snow could be cleared. So the reason for heading back there was to move those vehicles, because if I didn't do it then, I would have had to get up early and do it. And I also know they plow through the night. So that would be the reason for heading back.
Before we get a little more into that, as far as the funeral that you went to, were these people that you knew or had met or were familiar with?
No.
So you get back to the police station, and with regard to the Canton Police Station, what, if any, access did you have to the Canton PD, and sort of how did you facilitate that?
So I would describe it as a proxy card. The doors have card readers. Generally in the parking lot, when you come into the police station, you drive in. Sally ports are off to your right-hand side. There's two bay doors there. There's a pass-through door, and then over in the corner would typically where I would bury both vehicles. So if I was, typically it would be my take-home pickup truck that I described earlier.
He's stuttering. And he's got his head like this. Typically it would be my pickup truck, my truck. Like, he's stuttering. He's all over the place, dude. Because you're making it up. You're lying, bro.
Earlier, and it would be the surveillance vehicle. But if I had, that could be swapped out with one of my personal vehicles. I would leave a personal vehicle there if I took one of those two vehicles. And then for me to access into the building, the most direct door would be that pass-through door by the Sally port.
And sort of that back area, is that typically where you would park?
Yes.
And just in reference to you talk about a surveillance vehicle, that's something that you use as far as conducting surveillance and performance of your duties as a law enforcement officer?
Yes.
And so fair to say that would not be something you would want to park, like, say, in front of the police station?
No.
Now, that
Real quick, I just did a quick Google search. Let's see. Things people do when they lie: avoid eye contact, excessive fidgeting, changes in voice pitch, hesitation or long pauses, contradictory statements, offering unnecessary details, and changing the subject abruptly. You can also look into, there will likely be physical signs. They repeat the same story over and over again. They'll be oddly chronological. They speak more eloquently. They drop or change pronouns. Their sentences may be full of qualifiers. Are we seeing a trend here, people? Are we seeing, yeah, are we seeing a trend here? All right, let's play a little bit more.
path that you took, is that the typical path that you would take, sort of park to the back and then cut through the Sally Port into the station?
Yes, that would be the route that I would go.
And if you recall, is that the route that you went on that particular early morning when you came back to the station?
I believe it is.
And when you come back to the station and you go in, where are you going within the police station when you went?
So I'm going up to I was going up to my office to grab.
Oh, and I want you to listen here, and I'm sorry, I'm pausing this a lot, but I have a lot of points that come back to me. Listen what he says about Good. Listen to what he says about seeing and I forget his first name, but the cop's last name, Good. Watch what he says here, and then you're going to see him change his testimony when Alan Jackson asked him about who he saw there the night that he went into the police station.
The key for that surveillance vehicle. So when you come through that pass-through door at the Sally Port, the first door would be through the booking and the holding area that directly goes into the dispatch area. But if you walk to the extreme other end,
Sergeant,
there's another door on the other end, common hallway. I'd walk down that hallway, hit a set of stairs, and I would go up that way.
Now, if I could take you back just for a second, as far as when you initially walk into the Sally Port area, that's a garage, basically, correct?
Yes.
And when you come into the garage, the door that you would then enter to come into the station, where is that in relation to the door that you come from the exterior? How far away are the two?
So if you come into, I guess what you're asking, so if I come into the Sally Port, immediately to the right, there's the door that goes into the holding area, booking area, and then probably it's probably 12 feet long to get to the other door.
So from where you're parking and where you come into the Sally Port, it's not like you then have to walk across the
Come on,
garage
thank
or
you.
anything like that to get to the door into the station. Is that correct?
Well, you do walk across the garage, but it's small,
And when you say small, about how far?
about 12 feet maybe.
And so you come into the station, you go by the dispatch, is that correct?
So as I'm walking down the hallway, dispatch would be off to the right. It's a wooden door with 2 glass panes.
And as far as the Canton Police Station is concerned, are you familiar with, or were you aware at the time that there is sort of security and cameras and such around the station?
Yes.
You're aware that those cameras record, is that correct?
Yes.
And are you aware of any records that are generated as far as your key card access when you go through a certain door at a certain time?
Well, I've never seen those records, but it's my understanding it tracks access control.
And did you happen to go by the dispatch area specifically? And if so, do you know who was working there that night?
Newly promoted Sergeant Good, I believe. Probably he was on midnights.
Do you have any?
I want you to keep note of that, because when we go to Jackson here in a minute, he's going to go, I don't know where.
Specific recollection of seeing him there that evening or that early morning when you came by?
I believe I waved to him.
And as far as when you
He said he waved to him.
to the police station, do you have how far drive is it from Fairview to the police station?
Yes.
Well, I mean, the weather was picking up, so it probably took me a little bit longer to get back, but it's probably 5-10 minutes maybe.
Now, the key that you went to your office to get a key, correct?
Yes.
And why had you left the key to one of the vehicles in the office?
So as I stated earlier, I anticipated not even being back in Massachusetts, knew the storm was coming, didn't know how bad it was, but I left the key on the desk to facilitate somebody being able to move that.
And so you go to your office, you get the key, and then where did you go from there?
I go back downstairs and I move the vehicles to the center of the parking lot.
And then at some point you leave, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know about how long it was after you
So
moved?
here's the funny thing about all of this. Okay. If those vehicles needed to be moved and the key was there on his desk to move those vehicles, why couldn't he just sum that up with a phone call? Like, hey, if Sergeant Good, if you need to move the cars in Canton inside the parking lot, keys on my desk. Just go up there and grab it. Right? Why would you need to go all the way back there? right? That could be easily summed up with a phone call.
With the vehicles around that you left Canton PD.
Not long, but I'd be guessing if I gave you a time.
And so where did you go from there?
I went back to West Roxbury.
And which vehicle that you've described, which of those vehicles did you use to get from Canton PD to West Roxbury?
The Jeep Cherokee, the Jeep Wrangler, sorry.
And if you know about what time was it that you got home to West Roxbury?
He's got to think now. How do I cover this lie? I got to put myself further out. I got to think how long the timeline would be to drive from Canton to my house.
Could have been somewhere around
Maybe
20 or 2.
Ah,
I'm not 100% positive.
ah.
So sometime between 1:30 and 2 a.m. Is that roughly around?
Yes.
And when you get home, Bob, do you recall what it was that you did when you got home?
Well, it was a long day.
Long day.
We had traveled, the
Drinks.
traffic. It
What
just seemed like it
drink?
dragged on forever. But I think I did what I typically do after being out, having a couple of drinks. I had something else to eat, and I believe I might have had another couple of drinks and either laid on the couch or laid on my bed. And typically I would fall asleep if I was on the couch and wake up and go into the bedroom. I don't know what location I was in at that point.
How would you not remember that? Like, I would remember if I fell asleep on my fucking couch or on my bed. And I'll tell you, he loves drinkies. He loves the drinkies. All right, we're going to play a little bit more here, and then we're going to go to Alan Jackson. We're going to see the cross, and you're going to see the testimony change. Jackson's going to call him out for it.
Now, after you fall asleep at some point later on that morning or something, you wake up obviously at some period, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall what it was that awoke you on that morning?
I mean, for lack of better words, my phone, both my work and my personal phones were blowing up. They were going off.
It's crazy.
And if you know about what time in the morning was that
Probably around 6:30-ish.
and who, if anyone, as far as you looked at your phones, and who, if anyone, was blowing up your phone, or who was calling you at that?
Well, I think first it was Chief Berkowitz, and then Brian Albert.
And you mentioned first it was Chief Berkowitz. Did you answer the chief's call at that time?
No.
And was that abnormal for the
Exactly,
chief to be calling
Grandma.
you at that time of day?
We're going to hear what they say about, let's hear what they say when we get to what time did Brian Higgins call you? Yeah, there's no mention of the butt dial here. Jackson's going to get him on it. See, it's why I like doing this and going back and doing these, because we can see the lies. Try to read between the lies.
No, he's an early riser, and typically when he was working, again, we also had a friendship. He would call in the morning, kind of like checking in with each other. So I just kind of blew, like, why are you calling me this early? Kind of just blew it off. But then when I saw Brian Albert calling me, like, that kind of caused me some concern, because I'm like, why is he calling me? He was out with me all day yesterday. We both had the same long day, and I was concerned at that point.
Why would that initially concern you? Why would you be concerned about that? He's your friend. He's calling you. Why would you have this concern?
And so you answer the phone from Mr. Albert, is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you learn from him, or what, if anything, did he tell you?
Objection.
Look at him.
Sustain the objection at this point.
So you receive a call from him and you have some sort of conversation, correct?
Yes.
Now, prior to that, from the time that you got home to the time that you answered this call from Brian Albert, do you recall having any phone calls or conversations with anybody during that time period?
No.
And specifically,
That's to get out of the way of the butt dial. That's what they're doing right now. He's dismissing the butt dial. They're not going to say that he received a 22-second call in the middle of the night. It's the butt dial call. That's what they're trying to do here. And that's what Lally's saying. He goes, well, between that time of when your phone was blowing up in the morning, did you receive any calls from any of those people at that time? Nope. Nope. That's what they're trying to do, get around the butt dial. But Jackson's going to bring it up.
Did you talk to Brian Albert on the phone at any point between the time you left his home and the time that you woke up the next morning to his phone call?
No, I did not.
Now,
That's to cover the butt dial. The butt dial. We know they talked. 22 seconds. That's a long. I'll do it right now. I know they wouldn't let Jackson do it in court. Let's do 22 seconds. Let's see how that feels. Let's see how that feels. Let me go to my stopwatch. This is 22 seconds. Ready? This is how long 20. We're just going to complete silence here. 22 seconds. That's a long time. That's a long time. You can have a pretty solid conversation in that time. All right, let's play a little bit more here, and then we're going to go to Jackson.
Previous day, over the course of it, we're all waking up in New York and then driving home and going to the hillside and going to the waterfall and going to Mr. Albert's house. Had you and Mr. Albert communicated via cell phone, whether it be text or phone call at any point in time during the course of that day?
You mean the day before?
Yes.
Yes.
So he was fairly recent in your contacts, is that correct?
Yes.
And so as far as that phone call that you received from Mr. Albert, based on whatever information that you learned from that, what did you do then?
I got dressed and went right over to the house at 34 Fairview.
All right, I'm going to pause here. We're going to go to Jackson now. Now, remember what he said about Sergeant Good. All right, remember that. So I found that to be very interesting. Yeah, I love this. His attorney talked to him in 10 seconds. He said, and then Amherst Ann said, "You're wrong. The phone call to the JFK show was 22 seconds. Yeah, it's a pretty good comparison. I love that. It's really good. If y'all haven't, please make sure to smash the like button. It helps get this stream out in the algorithm. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I really do appreciate it. All right, let's go to Alan Jackson. Alan Jackson, the dismantling of one Brian Higgins. Here we go.
The roadway was relatively
I'll
empty.
boost it.
There was no cars.
And you didn't see a body then either, did you?
I did not.
And as you drive past that flagpole with everything lit up and everything in your peripheral vision, you still didn't see a body on that lawn, did you?
I did not.
You're a former firefighter, is that right?
Yes.
That puts you in a position of being a first responder.
Yes.
And you're currently a law enforcement officer.
Yes.
That puts you in the position of being a first responder, correct?
I'm also a tactical medic. Yes.
Which means that you have training to be an observer. You're a trained observer, more than the average person, correct?
Yes.
You look for things out of the ordinary. You look for things that don't belong. As an investigator, and former firefighter, first responder, correct?
Yes.
And you did not see a 217-pound man bleeding out on the side of the road, in the lawn, or in the yard, just to your right by that flagpole, correct?
If I did,
I didn't
I
ask
would
you
have
if
done
you
something
did.
to help him.
I asked you if you saw one.
No, I did not.
And that's because there was no body there, correct?
I didn't see anything.
Because if there was a body there, you certainly.
Who's he looking at? Who's he looking at? Who's he looking at? Looking at Lally. Watch him look at Lally.
And you did not see a 217-pound man bleeding out on the side of the road, in the lawn, or in the yard, just to your right by that flagpole, correct?
If I did,
I didn't
I
ask
would
you
have
if
done
you
something
did.
to help him.
I asked you if you saw one.
No, I did not.
And that's because there was no body there, correct?
I didn't see anything.
Because if there was a body there,
Watch.
you
Look,
certainly would have seen that.
Objection.
he's looking. Lally's standing up to eject. He don't want to hear this testimony. He doesn't want to hear these questions anymore. He looks down. Dell, thank you so much. $2 Canadian. We love our Canadian brothers and sisters. Thank you so much. Exactly. He be saying no, but his head be shaking yes. Thank you so much for the support. All right, let's go. He's fidgeting around, eyes all over the place.
Where exactly did you go?
If I did,
I didn't
I
ask
would
you
have
if
done
you
something
did.
to help
No,
him.
I asked you if you saw one.
No, I did not.
And that's because there was no body there, correct?
I didn't see anything.
Because if there was a body there, you certainly would have seen that.
Objection.
Where exactly did you go when you left 34 Fairview?
I went back to the Canton Police Station.
When you were asked that on direct examination, you said you weren't sure where you went when you left 34 Fairview, either home or to Canton PD.
No, that's not what I testified to.
Did something jog your memory
That
about
is-
where you went?
That is not what I testified to. That was in relation to where did I go after I left 34 Fairview the next morning.
Why did you go to Canton Police Department that night,
Right.
that morning?
What's the question?
What's the question? You don't want to answer for it. Why did you go there? Why did you go to Canton PD? Let us know. Let us know. Why'd you go there? And then you get offensive. What's the question?
Why did you go to the Canton Police Department
Defensive.
that morning?
The morning when I left 34 Fairview, the Friday into Saturday,
Correct.
to move 2 vehicles.
There's been quite an evolution of that story over the years, has there not?
I don't understand the question.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. You had an initial interview with Massachusetts State Police on February 3rd, 2022,
Yes.
correct? And you indicated during the course of that interview, which was just a couple of days, 5 days after the events in question, that you left Brian Albert's house, went to Canton PD to, quote, fulfill some administrative obligations, end quote, correct? You later said, when you testified in front of the grand jury on April 28th, that you went to Canton PD to do, quote, administrative work, correct?
Yes.
You never mentioned,
I said administrative things.
you said administrative work was your testimony in your transcript.
I believe it was things, but okay.
Okay. Can we agree, Mr. Higgins, that you didn't mention anything about moving cars around?
True
correct?
Well,
glamour.
that would be administrative.
So when you say I went to Canton PD to do administrative work or administrative obligations, you meant moving your car, your personal vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Although you didn't say that you were going there to move your personal vehicle, right?
No, I said I didn't move my personal vehicle. I moved work vehicles.
Or either one. You just traded off vehicles, moved them out of the way, right?
I moved the purpose for going back there was to move 2 work vehicles.
And the reality is you had gotten Canton PD earlier in the afternoon and actually moved some other vehicles, traded vehicles,
He
didn't you?
did it.
I swapped vehicles out. That's correct.
Right. And you left the vehicles that you now claim you had to go move exactly where they were, even though you knew a blizzard was coming, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So you didn't move the cars a few hours earlier, knowing that you just have to come back and move those cars a few hours later,
I was
right?
more concerned to go eat and have a drink because it had been a
Have a
long day.
drink.
So wouldn't you want to move those cars early
Have
on
a
so you wouldn't
drink.
have to go all the way back to Canton and play, parking lot with these cars in the middle of the night?
Not really.
Mr. Higgins, you weren't actually at Canton PD to do administrative work at 1:30 in the morning, were you?
I was moving the vehicles. I'm sure it's on video.
We'll talk about the video.
Oh, and it is. And we got video you calling someone at 1:30 a.m.
In just a second. You entered the Canton Police Station through which door?
I believe it was the door to the right of the Sally Port as you come in the main entrance.
And you made note of who was on duty that night, correct?
I didn't make note. I walked by, I saw somebody sitting in the control room and then just went about my business.
So you immediately
Wait a minute. What did he say on direct? What did he say on direct? He was very descriptive of who he saw in that police station that night, where they were sitting. Now he just, oh, I just made note and I walked by and waved. He said, Sergeant Good, recently promoted. Recently promoted. Remember?
the cars a few hours earlier, knowing that you just have to come back
Why would
and
he
move
say
those
that?
cars a few hours later.
I
Why
was
would
more
he
concerned
do
to go
that?
eat and have a drink because it had been a long day.
So wouldn't you want to move those cars early on so you wouldn't have to go all the way back to Canton and play, parking lot with these cars in the middle of the night?
Not really.
Mr. Higgins, you weren't actually at Canton PD to do administrative work at 1:30 in the morning, were you?
I was moving the vehicles. I'm sure it's on video.
And we'll talk about the video in just a second.
I like that. Look at him. Okay.
You entered the Canton Police Station through which door?
I believe it was the door to the right of the Sally Port as you come in the main entrance.
And you made note of who was on duty that night, correct?
I didn't make note. I walked by, I saw somebody sitting in the control room and then just went about my business.
So you immediately knew that your friend, Officer Good, was working dispatch, right?
So do you need to hear something or
Oh, this is where the juror gets sick.
it's really hot over there? So why don't we take a 5-minute?
Court, all rise.
I will speed up. Yeah, the juror got sick. I remember that. All right, here we go.
Thank you. Wait, let's bring Mr. Higgins back. Thank you.
Thank you. I like how Higgins wouldn't say it was Sergeant Good, but then Jackson goes, "Oh, but you saw Sergeant Good."
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins, if you went back to Canton PD at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, you would certainly be in a position to monitor anything that was happening at Canton PD at the time.
Now, keep in mind, right now, Karen Reed's defense team, from what I'm understanding, they don't know about this 1:30 a.m. video because that just recently came up. Almost a year later after the trial. And that's what Jackson talked about in the February 6th hearing. And that's why we know about this now, that there's video of Higgins talking on his phone.
At least you were there, correct?
No.
I mean, you would be inside the building, correct?
Yes.
So that's
So here's the thing. I know a lot of people in here talked about the Truth Revealed guy. I invited him on my show. I was talking to him for quite a while, and he just kind of blew me off. And was kind of upset about it because we had it all set up to go, and the guy blew me off, but then said something. I think he hadn't analyzed. Here's the funny thing is I did about a full day's worth of clips, and I sent the email to the guy with the timestamps of everything that I wanted to go over on the live. And the guy totally just blew me off. and then just went ahead and did, I think, Brian Higgins' testimony, and he might have said something in his video like, "Oh, I was going to do this with LTL." I was kind of like, "All right, buddy, fuck, what the fuck?" So, yeah, I did a lot of research, and I could probably still have the email somewhere that I had it all lined up. There was multitude of clips we were going to go through, and the guy blew me off. So fuck him.
Access to dispatch and anything else that was happening around that.
Anyway,
floor,
whatever.
Correct.
I did not go into dispatch.
You would have access to the interior of the police station at that time if you went back to Canton PD at 1:30 in the morning, correct?
I'd have access.
You could see if there was any activity going on, any calls.
And I actually talked to that guy on the phone too, I think twice. I talked to him twice, and he blew me off. So I was like, all right, dude, whatever. And then just went ahead and again used my material and did his videos. So whatever. I don't care. I have actually talked to there's the channel, what is it? The Body Language Expert. I think it's the Body Language Experts. Let's see. Oh, the Body Language Panel. Who is it? They are. It's the four guys. The Behavior Panel. I've actually talked to, I think his name is Steve. And I got permission to use one of their videos. So yeah, go ahead, please do. And I've been trying to get him on the show, but it never worked out. But those guys are great. I love what they do. I love their panel. They gave me access and permission to use one of their videos. I think that's pretty cool that they allowed me to do that. All right, let's hear more of Higgin.
Things of that nature.
I didn't have access to that, and I wasn't looking for it.
Not that you were looking for it, Mr. Higgins. My question is more simple than that. If you were there, you'd know what was going on inside the building.
No.
So if you walked in, you would just be completely
That tells you a lot about
oblivious
his
to anything
channel.
that was happening. For instance, if troopers started amassing to go out to a call, you wouldn't see that.
Objection.
Here's my thing about, and I'm going to just bring this in an example. Here's my thing about YouTube, okay? If you are going to do this and you're going to get into it, it has to come from here. Right here. This thing that's right here in our chest that beats. You have to have the heart to do it. Now, I'm not picking on the guy. I don't know what his reason is. Maybe he's got family shit that's going on, whatever it is. But you got to have heart in this, and you got to have soul in it, and you got to want to do it and not make it work. Like, this is fun for me. I look forward to doing this every single day that I can. I go to my day job. I suffer all day long. I fucking hate it. I absolutely hate it. But I know when that clock ticks the time that I can leave and I have a show lined up to come here and be with all of you and discuss things that are very interesting in my life and interesting in your life, and hear your perspective, and you listen to my perspective, and we bounce ideas and we figure things out together. Because this is like, it's like solving a puzzle to me. And I love that shit. And to get that input from the live audience and the videos that we do and the conversations that we have, I absolutely love it. And that's why I do this. It's not work for me. It's not a job. And yeah, there's some fun in it with the very serious things that we cover. But if you're going to get into this and get into it for all the wrong reasons, then don't get into it at all, because it's got to come from here, inside the chest, that beating heart. You have to have heart in this to do it. And you're going to take a lot of shit along the way, and you're going to go on a million emotional roller coasters. I was admittedly, I was on one today. I was having a really hard day today. But you have to persevere, and you have to get through that. And you know that when you come live, you'll have that support that will boost your morale and get you up to wanting to do a show. Because it just takes a couple of chats to get you going. And then you get into your groove and you go. And I've met so many wonderful people through all of this. I have been so blessed. And those will be friends for life, no matter what we decide to do. The creators that I've had contact with and made friends with, If they decide to shut their channels down or whatever it is, or they move on and life dictates a different pathway for them, I'll be friends with them forever. I've met a fantastic family, the Reeds, had the opportunity to do that. And we'll be friends forever. But yeah, if you're not in this doing with heart, shut it down, go away. It ain't for you. All right, let's get back to Piggy Wiggy Higgy.
The objection sustained. Ask it differently.
You were able to monitor, you'd be in a position to monitor what was happening at the station around 1:30 in the morning when you were over there, correct?
No.
So how long did it take you to get home from Canton PD?
A little longer from after I moved the vehicles.
Correct.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been 15 minutes. It could have been 20 minutes.
You live alone?
I do.
You did then?
Yes.
What did you do when you got home?
I think I had something to eat, maybe a couple more drinks.
Went on the couch.
Then you went to bed?
Was either on the couch or in the bed watching the news.
In any of the prior testimony that you've given in this case, have you ever indicated, ever, that you slept on the couch that night?
Good.
I don't know.
Well, you reviewed your testimony before you
Well,
testified.
those would be the two options.
Okay. I didn't ask you about your options. I asked you if you reviewed your testimony before you testified today.
Yes.
Okay. When you reviewed your testimony previous to coming in here today, did you ever testify?
Suzanne, thank you for the 25. I believe it's on Venmo. And she said, stop keeping me up past my bedtime. Great show. Feel better soon. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You slept on the couch that night.
No, I slept in my bed, but I could have started somewhere else.
Did you ever testify in the previous hearing that you started somewhere else?
Well, by the way, Jennifer McCabe won the poll. I just clicked it by accident and ended it by accident, but she won by 67%. And we'll definitely get into some of that as well, because I want to go through and do what we did. Let's play a little bit of the direct, and then we'll play some of the cross, and we'll do that this week.
Not that I know.
Or maybe
Did you
next week.
ever mention a couch in any of your description about what you did when you went home that night?
Not that I recall.
As a matter of fact, what you did mention under questioning in a different hearing was that you may have gotten something to eat, you then went to bed, put your stuff on the nightstand next to your bed, correct?
Oh.
That would be the routine, yes.
You did not make or receive any calls after returning home that night.
No.
We're going to get into the butt dial. By the way, Glamma, welcome to the moderator group. You now have a wrench. I see you a lot in Maz's chat, and I think that you've earned that wrench here. You're always here, and I appreciate that. Yeah, what's up? Let's see. Look at this. 692 votes and only 92 likes. Hit that like button, please. 92 likes. Come on. We can do better than that. We got 853 people in here. Just even if half of you hit that, I would love it. All right, let's hear more from Piggy Wiggy. Oh, you're welcome.
You were clear when you went to sleep in your prior testimony that you put both your work and your personal phone. You had two at the time, correct?
Yes.
A personal and a work cell phone, right?
Yes.
You put them both on your bedside table because that's what you do every night. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
As a matter of fact, you were asked whether or not you have a charging station, and you said, yeah, it's right on my bedside.
I don't know that I don't have a charging station.
Right. You said no, bedside. In other words, you keep your phone by your bedside, on your bedside table.
Usually.
You also testified that you did not use your phone that night to go on social media, correct?
That's correct.
You indicated that you don't go on, you didn't go on social media because you don't have social media. You don't use it that much.
I don't.
You said, I don't have the gram. I'm guessing that means Instagram, correct?
That is correct.
And you don't use Snapchat and you quote, don't do those things, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So you testified that the first call you received after returning home on the 29th was a call from Chief Berkowitz just before 7 a.m., which woke you up. Is that right?
It was around 6:30-ish, I think.
Okay. Your testimony previously was at some point before 7 a.m., that call was the one that woke you up.
Yes.
And it turns out, Mr. Higgins, that was a lie, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a lie.
When you were asked that question at a previous hearing, you didn't know that the person questioning you had your phone records, did you?
I assume they did.
And you were thereafter confronted with those phone records, correct?
I was asked about them, yes.
And those phone records established that you and Brian Albert actually exchanged not one, but two phone calls at 2:22 a.m. that morning, at a time when you claimed you were in bed asleep, correct?
I have no recollection of any phone calls.
Dude,
May I approach you on?
this guy, look at him. He's so uncomfortable right now. Yeah, I like going back
Yeah,
through
which-
these.
yeah,
This is
thank
good.
you. Take a look at those two documents and tell me if you recognize at least the top one.
Now, what you're gonna see here now is he's gonna try to shuffle around here on these phone calls, and he's gonna go, "What line? I don't remember." He's gonna do all that shit. What line are you looking at? What page? Watch.
Do they have a page number for me to follow or no?
I was just asking Ms. Little, I don't think we've introduced them, and no, they don't have a page number, but I'm going to ask that they be marked for identification at least at this point.
Now he's looking. He's going, "Oh shit, there is a call there. How am I gonna get my way out of this one?"
Do you recognize those?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
These are, you know what, I'm going to, if it's okay with the court, may the witness maintain those documents?
Sure.
I'd like to have those two documents marked only for identification with the court's permission.
Okay. As one exhibit?
We can do it as one exhibit, that's fine.
Okay. Could you please hand those to Madam Clerk?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry, what was it?
Yeah, Matt, that would be great. I've talked to, I think it's Steve. Let me check my email real quick. I hate to pause the show, but hang on. What's his name? Is it Steve? What's his name? Let's see. Let's see if I get a response here. Yeah, I think it's Steve. I've talked to him before. Very nice guy. The behave. Here we go. I asked him about the Nicholas Rossi. Scott. His name is Scott. A very nice guy. Because I was in depth about Nicholas Rossi, and he wrote me back, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, could I use, go through your video? I'd love to see the body language." He said, "Absolutely." He goes, "Hi, Brian. Of course you can use it. They just get upset when people grab it and they upload it to their channel as is and do nothing to it. We won't allow it. But your channel is great. We'll all watch it when it goes up. And thank you for checking in with us, Scott." So it's cool. Like here's how you get courtesy on YouTube. Like when you go to those big channels that have like 1 million subscribers on there, and like it might be a video that's interesting to your audience, and you want to do some commentary, just reach out to the people, and they're usually really cool about it. And they're just like, "Hey, thanks for asking, thanks for asking." So yeah, I would love to do that, Matt, or even just possibly have Scott on And, maybe we can go through some of this body language. I think it would be really great. So whatever you can do to help would be great. And my email, I'm going to drop it in the chat. My email is letstalklivepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just basic courtesy and respect. Exactly. And that's my email address there, in case you're wondering. All right, let's hear about the butt dials. And
Thank you.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins, you see the document on the lower right. It has a page number there's a numeric indicator 01770. In other words, 1770
On the lower right-hand corner,
in the red.
it says 01771.
Look at the next page. I think they're just out of order.
Why don't you come show
Am I
me?
missing something?
Oh, this has been marked over. It's right over the top. That's the protocol. It's okay. I'll use the one with QQ and the one with 1771 because the other numbers.
When you're referencing them. When you're referencing them?
When I'm referencing them.
Okay.
Take a look at
100% following.
the one that's marked with the QQ.
I see it.
You've seen that document before, correct?
I think I've seen it maybe on a screen, not in my hand.
That was these were the records that were shown to you at a prior hearing.
Yes.
And you acknowledge that at least the one marked QQ is a record of your calls, correct?
It has my name, my telephone number, correct?
And it indicates that on January 29th, 2022, at 2:22 and 35 seconds, you received a call from Brian Albert, duration of 1 second, correct?
Yes.
In other words, Brian Albert called you at 2:22 and 35 seconds, but it looks like you missed the call, correct?
I see the 1 second call, yes.
There's a second call just below that on the same date at 2:22 and 52 seconds
Oh,
from you to Brian Albert. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And the duration of that call is 22 seconds, correct?
I see that, yes.
So 17.
so listen, all right. I literally sleep with my phone next to me because what I do at night is I'll put I like to listen to interrogation videos just as ambient background noise. So I'll throw an interrogation video on, I'll put it near my head or put it down near my side and just turn the volume up a little bit and listen. And I literally fall asleep in 10 minutes. I've never, ever, 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 ever rolled over, side dialed, butt dialed. I've literally slept with my iPhone since since the iPhone came out. I had the iPhone 1. I've had an iPhone through its entire existence and have always had it by my side or my head. I've never, ever once in my entire life rolled over on my phone, called anybody. It's almost impossible. You have to unlock your phone. So on mine, it's a slide up. Or let's just say this. It's not going to unlock. You'd have to put your passcode in. Okay. Or use your Face ID. Butt ID? Then you would have to click on the app. You'd have to hit the keypad. You'd have to dial a number. Or even if it was in your recent calls, you'd have to click on that. Even just give maybe one of those calls could have happened. But there's no fucking way on this God green earth that Brian Higgins called Brian Albert for what, 22 seconds, and the butt dial, and then Brian Albert butt dialed Higgins back for what was 17 seconds. There's no way in hell that could have ever happened.
Seconds after you missed a call, according to these records, from Brian Albert, you called him back, and there was a call lasting 22 seconds. Is that right?
That's what the records say.
May I approach?
Yes.
That's what the records say. There's no way, dude.
So the fact is, you were speaking to Brian Albert in the middle of the night, approximately 3 hours
Amanda, thank you so
before
much.
Mr. O'Keefe's body.
Thank you so much for being a member of 5 months. She says, glad you're feeling better. Loving the late night. Yeah, we're doing some late night. You look like a newscaster. Like you should be doing like news. You look like you're up on a news panel, ready to give like the daily news. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that would never happen.
Was found in his yard, correct?
No, that's not correct.
And that was 5 minutes before 2:27 a.m. when there was a Google search for how long to die in the cold, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay, I want to go back and listen to that again. He said he's lining up with the Haas long to die in cold. So 2:27. And then what did he say this call came in at? 2:22. Oh, wonder why we're calling people at that time of night.
I see the 1 second call. Yes.
There's a second call just below that on the same date at 2:22 and 52 seconds from you to Brian Albert. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And the duration of that call is 22 seconds, correct?
I see that. Yes.
So 17 seconds after you missed a call, according to these records, from Brian Albert, you called him back, and there was a call lasting 22 seconds. Is that right?
That's what the records say.
May I approach?
Yes.
So the fact is, you were speaking to Brian Albert in the middle of the night, approximately 3 hours before Mr. O'Keefe's body was found in his yard, correct?
No, that's not correct.
And that was 5 minutes before 2:27 a.m. when there was a Google search for how long to die in the cold, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
The timing of all of that. Look at him. He's uncomfortable.
And then, of course, you lied about that under oath in that prior proceeding by saying, I don't remember this phone call.
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you, in fact, tell the truth at the prior proceeding when you said, I don't remember that phone call?
I always tell the truth.
Did you lie under oath, sir?
No, I did not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Look at him. He's laughing about this. He thinks this is a big joke. He thinks Alan Jackson's a big joke. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was calling about pizza. Remember? That's what our fellow yellow friend said. Everybody says that's a lie. Exactly, Rachel. Everybody keeps thinking someone's going to crack. I don't know, man. They've been holding it together this long. Maybe they crack under the second trial. Nan's fan, thank you so much. $20. Says, when streaming from another show and the viewers can't hear, quick fix is to lower your mic output so that viewers can turn theirs up and hear them without you blowing out their eardrums when you talk. Win, 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 win. Thank you so much for the $20. I appreciate it. All right, let's go.
You acknowledge that there's a 22-second phone call in your phone records, correct?
That's what's reflected by the record.
And 22 seconds is quite an amount of time. Would you agree?
Here's the problem, and I appreciate the audio advice. The minute I start fooling with my fader, someone's going to go, I can't hear you anymore. You need to turn yourself up. Your microphone's too low. So I just keep it like this. It is what it is, what it is.
22
Thank you.
seconds.
As a matter of fact, it's about this long, with the court's permission.
The court does not give permission. That's argument, Mr. Jackson.
If
How
we
is
were
that
to count
arguable?
off 22 seconds, that's an uncomfortably long time, is it not?
No,
It's long enough to have a conversation, isn't it?
I didn't have a conversation.
Is 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
No,
A human being can't have a conversation in 22 seconds?
sure they could. I don't think it's anything of substance.
Okay, so that's my question. Is it 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
I don't agree with it. No.
Now,
Oh,
when you
man.
were asked about this and you were shown these records, that prior hearing, you had an explanation for what that 22-second call may have been and what the prior call may have been, correct?
Yes.
What was your explanation?
Well, I used a phrase that people commonly used as a butt dial.
That is so absurd, man.
So you think it's possible that you may have butt dialed Brian Albert for a 22-second call that you're not aware of?
I think it's possible that he could have been inadvertently called back, but I have no recollection of that, nor did I have any conversation with anybody.
But you admitted that you lived alone, correct, Mr. Higgins?
That's correct.
You have an iPhone at the time.
Yes.
Matter of fact, that number for reflecting those records is in fact, or was in fact, an iPhone. Is that right?
Yes.
You already indicated under oath that you don't sleep with your iPhone. You keep it on your bedside table. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
There's nobody else in your room. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you had your ringer on because you were awakened the next morning by a call from Chief Berkowitz, right?
Yes, the ringer was on.
When somebody calls you and you miss the call, there's a notification that shows up on that iPhone. Isn't that right?
I don't know how mine's set up at the time. I don't know.
If you open up your phone app and you go to recents, it shows all the missed calls, correct?
I think you can get to them, yes.
And you know that the iPhone does not automatically call people back. That is not a thing, right? You miss a call from someone, it's not just going to automatically re-ring them.
Yes, I think we both know that, yes.
So to call somebody back, you have to go on your iPhone, open it up from a locked position, navigate to a phone application, then navigate to a contact, and then make a call, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can break it down.
Sure.
I just love how Karen looks through all these fucking people. They just know, she knows they're all lying. They have everything. She knows they're all lying. And she just looks through them.
In order to call somebody back, if you've missed a call, you first have to unlock your iPhone.
You would have to, yes.
You can do that either through Face ID or through a 4 or 6 digit passcode, right?
Yes.
Don't tell me the code, but did you have a 4 or a 6 digit passcode locking your iPhone at the time?
I don't know if it was a digit code or Face ID.
Well, if you have a Face ID, you have to have a digit code as well, right?
I guess so.
Okay. Did you open your phone with your Face ID or a multi-digit code?
I have no recollection of answering the phone or calling anybody
Oh,
back.
God.
You also have to navigate, once the phone is unlocked, you have to navigate to the phone app, correct?
I don't know necessarily if you unlocked it with your face, if it would be right there. I've never thought about it.
Once you unlock that phone app, you have to manipulate the phone on the screen with your finger in order to make a call, correct?
You would have to hit at least one button, I guess.
At least one, right?
Yes.
So that's 3 or 4 interactions with the phone that have to be physically undertaken to just make one
That's
call.
what I said.
right?
But I didn't make any calls.
So how'd you butt dial?
I didn't make any calls. I have no recollection of any calls, nor did I speak with anybody.
After you were shown these phone records at that prior hearing, in that hearing at least, you finally admitted that you did in fact call Brian Albert back, but this time you claimed the two of you just sort of sat in silence. Isn't that right?
Objection.
So I'm going to sustain it in that form. You can ask it appropriately, Mr. Jackson.
Did you ever previously testify that you did in fact make the call, but you did not have a conversation during the course of the call?
What I think I testified was something must have happened, but I didn't have any phone call.
Do you remember being asked, quote, did you call him back end quote, and you answered yes. And then there was a
There
question.
there was a series of questions there. That's only a fragment of what I said.
I'm not done yet, Mr. Higgins. Can you answer my question?
Yes.
To the question, did you call him back? Your answer was yes, correct?
I think it was kind of, I must have.
Then you were asked, well, the answer was yes. And then there was a colloquy back and forth where you spoke over each other's words, right?
It was dialogue back and forth about this whole thing, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
May I?
Yes.
You see the pink highlighted question and the pink highlighted answer.
Yes.
What's the question? Please read it for me.
Did you call him back?
What's the answer?
Yes.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Oh, I love you just got him.
You then said a little bit further in that same conversation, I did not have a conversation, correct?
I did not have a conversation with anybody.
And the question following that was, you just listened to the phone, what someone was telling you? Answer, it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything. And then I terminated the call, end quote. That's what you said at the other hearing under oath, correct? Yes or no?
Can I see it?
Sure.
Okay, Jennifer McCabe.
May I?
Yes.
Mr. Allen, same page.
Thank you.
The bottom portion in pink. If you could read that answer to yourself, please. You have that in mind, sir?
No, can I have a minute, please?
He's got to think of his lies now.
There was no discussion. I never talked to Brian Albert.
Then why the 22-second phone call, sir?
Exactly.
Objection.
Sustained.
I want to talk about what you did after you woke up on January 29th, 2022. That was obviously a memorable day in your mind, correct?
It was a sad day.
All right, let's bump up here a little bit. I want to get to the lawyer and the proffer, that moment where everybody's jaw just dropped. Let's see. I think it may be here.
All right.
May I, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Counsel, why don't you come on over, please? Mr. Conley,
This was like,
if you just go and just stand next to your client,
remember
Mr.
this?
Jackson's going to make an offer of proof of a question he's about to ask your client, or a couple of questions he's about to ask your client. Doesn't make any sense to me that somebody has counsel and the counsel is not aware of a potential issue. So
Yeah. Help them out, right, Bev? I Forever 12. Thank you for becoming a new member. I appreciate that. 10 seconds. That's right. This was a wild.
you'll hear the offer of proof. I'll let you speak to Mr. Higgins before this actually happens before the jury.
Could I just have him identify?
Yes, I was just going to ask you to identify yourself.
Sure, my name is William Connolly, spelled Connolly.
All right.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
The witness has indicated that he utilized federal resources for personal gain. The specifics of that testimony have been as follows. He indicated that he contacted Matt Kelsch, a federal agent.
I want Matt Kelsch on the stand. I want him to be called. Karen Reed 2.0. If the defense is listening here on this, if anybody from the Reed family, Matt Kelsch needs to get on that stand. 100%.
He indicated that he utilized a federal facility. He called it an unsecure facility, but it's a federal facility notwithstanding. And that the two of them, he and Agent Kelch, utilized federal resources in the form of some kind of a machine, as the witness indicated, for his own personal gain, so that he could, as a witness, in no official capacity, working any official case, and in Matt Kelch's capacity as an individual rather than an agent, they both work together to download certain information from the witness's phone in anticipation of turning that highly selected, highly curated information over to law enforcement so that he could later ultimately destroy his phone, which this witness in fact did.
Okay, so it's not entire, I disagree with you. I don't think it's reached that level. His testimony was that he went to a kiosk on the first floor where all local police departments can go. It's unrestricted. It's on the first floor. And we just got to the part about a machine in the kiosk when you mentioned an FBI resource. So what is your question? What questions do you intend to ask this witness now?
Whether he's aware that under 5 CFR 2635.702, it is a federal offense to use his public office, to use any public office for his own private gain or for the gain of persons or organizations with which you are associated personally. In other words, an FBI agent or an ATF agent cannot use federal resources for personal gain. The fact that he contacted an ATF agent, the fact that he utilized a facility that is owned by the federal government, run by the federal government, paid for by taxpayer dollars, and the fact that he used a machine that is owned by the federal government to download certain information for his own personal gain, that personal gain being, these are the curated texts that I'm going to turn over to law enforcement, that's a federal offense.
All right, so those questions are going to be asked. I don't know, there's been an objection to them. I'm not sure I'm going to let them in.
I'm not sure I'm going to let them in. I'm not sure I'm going to let them in. Aside from this guy basically committing a fucking crime with what Alan Jackson just described, I'm not sure if I'm going to let them in. Nope. Can't have anything about the feds. Can't talk about the feds. Remember? Can't talk about the feds. I'm not sure I'm going to let them in. Alan Jackson just essentially provided information that Brian Higgins violated a law, committed a fucking crime. And the weird thing about it, why are the feds not knocking on his door after and asking him a bunch of questions? Why isn't he under some federal scrutiny right now of breaking that law? It's unreal. All right, let's play through this.
With your client in the back room there, can you do it in short order? Or do you need
I
more
can
time?
do it in about 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Sure.
All right.
If you feel the need.
So why don't you go back and talk to him? I'll stop bringing the jury or getting the jury lined up to come back.
Thank
Okay?
you, Your Honor.
All right, we're going to speed up. Jury's going to enter. Jury comes in. Here we go. Yeah, I can name that tune in 10 notes. Still love that show. I can name that in one note. Boom, here is your one note.
All right. We have a very few minutes left, Mr.
Yeah.
Jackson.
Come on, let's go. We got to go. Come
Mr.
on.
Higgins, you indicated that the phone was hooked up to some sort of machine at the FBI kiosk, correct?
Yes.
That's right.
You're aware, sir, that under 5 CFR 2635.702, You may not use your public office for your own personal or private gain, or for the gain of persons or organizations with which you are associated personally, under pain of a federal offense, correct?
Objection.
No, Your Honor.
Are you aware that under 5 CFR 2634.704, it's a felony to quote?
Objection, Your Honor,
sorry,
as
for,
to
quote, an
reading.
employee-
Go ahead and finish the question.
For an employee, I'm sorry, an employee has a duty to preserve and conserve government property and shall not use such property or allow its use for other than authorized purposes. Were you aware of that federal regulation?
That objection sustained.
Sir, notwithstanding those regulations, you utilized the services of Matt Kelch as a friend and a colleague, but utilizing federal resources to pull information off your phone,
Objection.
correct?
Objection.
Sustained as to that form.
In fact, you were successful in getting information off your phone, which is the text that you turn over to the Commonwealth, correct?
Objection.
In that form, you're almost there, Mr. Jackson. That form was improper.
Remember, Bev needs
The information that was ultimately pulled off your phone was the information that you selected and you and Matt Kelch worked together to get off your phone, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, if I could explain.
Sure.
He walked me through on how I could pull the text string with John O'Keefe and the defendant. He walked me through the process, how to use the machine.
And then you did that.
I did do that. That's
And
correct.
That's what you turned over to the police.
That's correct.
And any other information would still be on your phone ending in 5421, correct?
Well, that information stayed on my phone. I just took those strings off and provided them to the Mass State
Right.
Police.
So where's your phone?
I do not have that phone anymore.
Why
You
not?
destroyed that phone, haven't you?
No, I threw the phone away.
Well, that's destroying the phone, isn't it?
I had every right to do that.
I didn't ask you about your rights. I asked you what you did.
Objection.
Sustained.
You destroyed the phone by removing the SIM card. Correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that? Did you pull the SIM card out?
Objection.
Did you?
At this point, I kind of love AJ right now. I think he knows how this is going to go. And AJ's kind of like, no fucks given. I'm just going to keep talking through this because you're hearing it. Objection, sustain, objection, sustain. And he's just like, fuck it. I'm just going to throw it all out there. I love this right now. He's just talking through everybody. Fuck him. I'm just going to keep talking. Let's just back it up a little bit here.
That form, you're almost there, Mr. Jackson. That form was improper.
The information that was ultimately
The
pulled off
Jackson.
your phone was the information that you selected and you and Matt Kelch worked together to get off your phone, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, if I could explain.
Sure.
He walked me through on how I could pull the text string with John O'Keefe and the defendant. He walked me through the process, how to use the machine.
And then you did that.
I did do that. That's
And
correct.
That's what you turned over to the police.
That's correct.
And any other information would still be on your phone ending in 5421, correct?
Well, that information stayed on my phone. I just took those strings off and provided them to the Mass State
Right.
Police.
So where's your phone?
I do not have that phone anymore.
Why?
You've destroyed that phone, haven't you?
No, I threw the phone away.
Well, that's destroying the phone, isn't it?
I had every right to do that.
I didn't ask you about your rights. I asked you what you did.
Objection.
Sustained.
You destroyed the phone by removing the SIM card. Correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that? Did you pull the
Did
SIM
you do
card
it?
out?
Objection.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone?
Your Honor, to the best of my recollection, if I did take the SIM card out, I would have when I threw it away, if I was going to take it out, I would break it or cut it. But I did not wipe the phone. I did not take anything else off it. But if I was going to throw the phone away, that's what I would have done.
Okay.
You know, as an ATF agent with electronic data experience, when you pull the SIM card out and break it, and then throw the phone away and the SIM card away, you don't need to wipe the phone.
Objection.
Sustained. Mr. Jackson, that's it.
Your Honor,
One more question.
I can do this.
That's it. This is important. What do you think? He's badgering the witness? No, he's trying to get to the point so the jury can hear it, ma'am. I like how he says, I can do this in about 10 seconds.
Your Honor, to the best of my recollection, if I did take the SIM card out, I would have if I was, when I threw it away, if I was going to take it out, I would break it or cut it. But I did not wipe the phone. I did not take anything else off it. But if I was going to throw the phone away,
that's all the information.
That's what I would have done.
Okay.
You know, as an ATF agent with electronic data experience, when you pull the SIM card out and break it, and then throw the phone away and the SIM card away, you don't need to wipe the phone.
Objection.
Sustained. Mr. Jackson, that's it.
Your Honor,
One more question.
I can do this in 30 seconds. I think. You were aware that that there was a court order that you not alter, delete, or destroy, or in any way manipulate your phone or the electronic data associated with it, correct?
Objection.
As to what date?
As of September 23rd, I'm sorry, September 30th, 2022.
Objection. I don't believe that's what the court order was. I think it's
I can make a quick offer of proof. That's exactly what it was that he was notified.
Were you aware of that? Was that your?
What's the question exactly, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
That's the question again.
Sure. Were you served with a copy of a notice on September 30th, 2022, that you not alter or destroy or manipulate anything on your phone on September 30th?
I was served an order. Yes, that's correct.
And isn't it true, in another hearing, you explained that on September 29th, the day before you claim you got that notice, you changed phone carriers and changed phone numbers?
And I maintained the phone.
Until you didn't, when you destroyed it a month later by pulling the SIM card out and throwing it away, correct?
objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that in October?
Why is he looking at the judge to fucking save him? Answer the question.
Did you destroy that phone?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone, Mr. Higgins?
Love it. Just Jackson keeps going.
Did you?
It's possible that I did. I believe that's how I've testified. Yes.
You testified.
It's possible that if I took it out, that it was either cut or broken.
It's not just possible.
So that,
And that would have been after the date the order was already denied.
Mr. Higgins, I have one question left. One question. Did you, Mr. Lally already standing. I haven't even started.
have a seat, Mr. Lally. Go ahead. Last question, Mr. Jackson.
Quiet, please, quiet.
Mr. Higgins, very simply, and then we're done. Did you remove the SIM card for that phone, drive onto a military base, throw the SIM card in one dumpster and the phone in a different dumpster?
That is not correct.
Did you testify that?
Was your one question, Mr. Jackson?
All right,
Man,
folks, that's it for today.
Ugh.
Have a great long.
I'm so fucking infuriated right now. This was the most infuriating part of this entire trial. This questioning right here. That 5 minutes we just listened to was the most infuriating fucking part of this trial. And then for her to stand up and just go, "Oh, that's it. Everybody go home. Oh, we'll see you on Monday." It's unbelievable. The ethics of this judge. Ugh, I'm so frustrated. Goodmans, thank you so much. Gifting 1 membership. Welcome in, new member. It's unbelievable. I'm so infuriated. I just want to go back a little bit. Right here.
Okay.
Did you do that in October? Did you destroy that phone?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone, Mr. Higgins?
Answer it. Why are you looking at her?
It's possible that I did. I believe that's how I've testified. Yes.
You testified
It's
at a previous-
possible that if I took it out, that it was either cut or broken.
It's not just possible.
So that,
And that would have been after the date the order was already denied.
Mr. Higgins, I have one question left. One question. Did you, Mr. Lally's already standing. I haven't even started.
have a seat, Mr. Lally. Go ahead. Last question, Mr. Jackson.
Quiet, please, quiet.
Mr. Higgins, very simply, and then we're done. Did you remove the SIM card for that phone, drive onto a military base, throw the SIM card in one dumpster and the phone in a different dumpster?
That is not correct.
Did you testify that?
Was your one question, Mr. Jackson?
All right, folks, that's it for today. We will see you Tuesday. Have a great long weekend, please. It's very important to not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case,
Yep,
please
exactly, LA.
disregard it and let us know. We will see you on Tuesday. Tuesday will be a full day.
Karen, leave your notebook on the chair. All rise. Hurry up, follow me, please.
You have to come back Tuesday.
I want to know what Jack.
Goodbye.
Karen. He's probably going, fucking motherfucker, fucking motherfucker. It's probably what he's saying to Karen. Fucking motherfucker. We got that motherfucker. I know he's lying. I can tell. Oh man, I can tell. Look at him. He's like, we got his ass. You know, Jackson's like, you fucking motherfucker.
You can follow them, yes.
That I'm telling you, that's the most. That 5 minutes, is the most infuriating.
All right, so I will see counsel at sidebar. Tori, we're done with that.
Unbelievable. Oh, I can't believe we're going to do this all over again. All over again. It's crazy. All right, let's end it tonight with a little bit of comedy here. We know it. Let's get the microdots breakdown here. And I'm going to put a quick chat here. Hang on. Quick poll. Let's see. Quick poll. All right, poll at the top. Did Higgins call JFK? All right, let's play this. I love this video.
Hey man, what's up, guys? Kevin from South Boston.
What's up, Kevin from Southie? What's happening?
Listen, I appreciate the things that you two do, you and James, right? But let me ask you something. Those two dudes that you're accusing, right? They're decorated dudes. What happens? Like, can you look at this from both sides? And this comes out that she actually did it. Are you ready to, like, put it out there that you were wrong?
You sound like Higgins, bro.
You wrong.
Is this Higgins?
Is this Higgins?
You wrong.
You're Higgins.
Kevin Albert, Kevin from South Boston. Kevin Albert, Kevin from South Boston. Kevin.
It's Higgins.
Boston Police, South Boston. Boston Police, South Boston. Boston.
It's Higgins, bro.
Put it out there. I have a house there. Put it out there. I have a house there. There. You were wrong? Absolutely not correct. That's wrong. You were wrong? Absolutely not correct. That's wrong.
I love it. I just want to hear I just want to see the beginning one more time. Oh, I love this.
Hey man, what's up, guys? Kevin from South Boston.
What's up, Kevin from Southie? What's happening?
Listen, I appreciate the things that you two do, you and James, right? But let me ask you something.
It's
those two dudes that you're accusing, right? They're decorated dudes. What happens? Like, can you look at this from both sides? And this comes out that she actually did it. Are you ready to, like, put it out there that you were wrong?
I like the moment it kicks in for JFK and he goes, wait a minute here. He's analyzing it. and then it just kicks in.
Put it out there that you were
Yo,
wrong.
you sound like Higgins, bro.
You wrong.
Is this Higgins?
Is this Higgins?
You wrong.
You're Higgins.
That never gets old. It never gets old. He got it. It just clicked. He's analyzing it, and he's like, wait a minute. This is fucking Higgins. It's Higgins. That's Higgins. Higgins called. That is Higgins. Great show. This was a fun one. This was a fun one to go through all this again. We'll have to do this again. Maybe we go through and break down Jen McCabe. I'd like to do that one again too, and catch her on her lies on the stand. But that's probably going to be it. It's late. It's like 11:15. I got to work tomorrow. Probably not going to do a live tomorrow, but I'll be back at some point this weekend. I do, however, want to go through. I found some pieces on, Hank Brennan, some video. So maybe we can go through that together and find out what kind of attorney Hank Brennan was before the Karen Reed trial. We can dip into his past a little bit and go through all of that. I think that will be really fun to go through that. Yeah, Jennifer McCabe will be a two-parter. Excuse me. All right, everybody. I'm going to head out. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe down below. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on all of your bell notifications. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, comment. And I appreciate it. I'm going to head out of here, get some rest, work tomorrow. And this was a good one. This one was fun. I had a lot of laughs on this one. But that's going to be it. I'll talk to everybody soon. Have a good night. Thank you all so much for the love and support. I appreciate it. Because if it wasn't for all of you, I would not be here doing this. And I appreciate it. Talk to everybody soon. Have a good night. Bye-bye.